Hello again, everybody, and welcome to this special edition of Cocoa and Dalts. It's special because it's in the summer and we're actually doing a podcast.
Isn't every episode of Cocoa and Dalts special?
It's like extra special. And we've added some ambient sounds to this podcast because it is summer and the studio air conditioning is not working. So we are sitting in the studio with the door open to the street, to the busy street outside. And that's why you might hear cars go by every now and then. And if you're listening carefully, you might be able to identify what kind of car it is.
This isn't like that episode a few episodes back where I went crazy with the special effects and put in like a old-timey car honk and...
You mean the engineer, the sound engineer who mixed it after.
That's right.
Right. That would be great if you could do an old-timey car honk.
Do you not listen to our episodes once they go live?
No, I don't actually. Do you go to our website when... By the way, I want to say, I'm not Coco.
Oh, I'm not Dalts.
And I want to say that Not Dalts is ravishing today because she has a new haircut. And when we release the video version of this, you'll see how ravishing she is. And her face is framed beautifully by her new haircut. And it's outstanding. So it's a new day. It's a new haircut, a new day.
Not Coco wants to get into Not Dalts' pants, apparently, which is why we're cutting this part out. So,
well, you're going to be editing it. I mean, the sound editor
right.
is going to be editing it. So it's all up. So for this week, this particular episode, we are going to do...
Perhaps our only episode this summer.
Maybe,
Who knows? Yeah.
If I continue to perspire all over the equipment. So we're going to talk about the year 2000. Well, actually, we're going to talk about Gladiator 2.
Gladiator!
Is that really?
Remember when Elizabeth Taylor handed the Oscar to that for Best Picture, and she was like, Gladiator!
Really? Like she was surprised, or she was thrilled, or she was having some sort of fit?
Drunk? I don't know.
Oh, well.
I don't know.
So Gladiator came out in 2000.
Gladiator!
And it kind of sounds like a parrot, actually. Was there a parrot on the... telecast that year?
I'm gonna get my flip phone and I'm gonna look that up on YouTube while you're talking.
We have to pay rights for that, I think, if you use it.
Oh, okay. All right, never mind.
So we'll get our rights clearance team on that post haste.
We could write that off on our taxes, right?
Pronto. The team or the
all of it?
Yeah, probably.
Sure. Okay.
So Gladiator 2 is coming out. Gladiator, as you may remember, came out in 2000, which is 19 years ago, and they are going, and so it was Russell Crowe was the star. He was Maximus.
Maximus, yes.
Which is sometimes what you call me around the house. And director was Ridley Scott, who is my personal favorite director of all time, probably.
Legendary, even though he is not dead, so I should not use that word to describe him.
He directed Blade Runner, the 1982 version. He also did Thelma and Louise. And
Aliens,
and a couple other movies that are really good that I can't think of right now because the papers are not. I don't want to shuffle the papers here in front of me.
I can shuffle my flip phone while you continue to talk.
Oh, that would be good. So Ridley Scott directed the movie to much acclaim. Russell Crowe won an Oscar for Best Acting Performance that year.
Yes.
And
for a boy, not for a girl.
For boys. I think that's what they called it in those days, too, because they weren't as politically correct as they are now. It was best boy, I think.
You're my best boy, baby.
Oh, thank you. I was kind of hoping I'd get one of those. He was not a gaffer. A best boy is not to be considered, confused with a gaffer.
Right.
Those are different skills. And for all you gaffers out there, that's for you. And the picture won as Best Picture for 2000. It was a very good year for movies. This is back in the olden days when the Academy only nominated 5 pictures for Best Picture.
Not like it is now where there's 10 and they're all just thrown in the ring and fighting it out and like gladiators.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Look at what I did there.
Oh, look at that. On a Sunday. You're sharp as a tack.
I've only had one glass of wine today.
Oh,
it was really big. But
what about those little small ones?
I know.
Do they count? So the other movies nominated for the Best Picture of 2000.
Are we talking about those?
I was just looking at the...
Okay, you're just giving context.
Giving context,
okay.
yes. So why Gladiator was a stellar movie.
Okay.
and where we are. So we'll go back to that other part later. But
all right.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon,
Which I'm the only person in the world who has never seen.
which even if you're not a martial arts type person, which I am not, I think you'll still enjoy this movie. It was a great movie. I enjoyed it back in 2000, as far as I can remember. Erin Brockovich was another Best Picture nomination, as was Traffic and Chocolat. Now, you can't say it like chocolate or chocolate or whatever. It's got to be Chocolat.
So those were the 4 other films nominated that year, which pretty much tells you why Gladiator. It was probably a 2-horse race between Gladiator and Traffic, and Gladiator pulled out the win.
And Steven Soderbergh won the Best Director for that, Traffic.
Was Ridley Scott even nominated for director? Or is he one of those people who's like never been nominated for director?
He's hardly ever been nominated for director, yes.
Correct.
So flash forward to 19 years later when Ridley Scott has run out of ideas.
Much like all of Hollywood.
So he's
generally.
totally Hollywood now. He's bought into the Hollywood, like, let's make everything we've already made before. That's why originally he was going to direct the Blade Runner sequel. Denis Villeneuve ended up directing it, but Ridley Scott was an executive producer as part of that. It was a great movie, but it didn't need to be made. It didn't move the ball for me at all, as I have reviewed in podcasts past.
Which I totally remember.
You remember that. You played that one over and over again, I remember. So the question begs, why now? Why are we going back to Gladiator 2? Now, I've done a lot of talking here, Coco, so maybe you would like to weigh in.
Well, so from the reports, even if you didn't read the reports, you would know that Gladiator 2 probably not going to be featuring Russell Crowe's character Maximus, because...
Well, he's Maximus in more than one way now.
Spoiler alert, 19 years later, Maximus dies at the end of Gladiator, so...
But they say that he's going to be featured in some way in the sequel.
So the sequel is going to focus on Connie Nielsen, played the sister of the evil Emperor Commodus, played by Joaquin Phoenix. Connie Nielsen.
Not to be confused with commode.
Right. Well, maybe that's why they did that. I don't know. Like, maybe that's why they...
Maybe that's where the word comes from? Yeah.
So her son in the original movie is now going to be the protagonist of Gladiator 2. So little Lucius in the first movie is now all grown up, and he's the protagonist. And I'm like, how are they going to do that? Because he's the nephew of an emperor. Is he going to be a slave and become a gladiator? Like, I don't know what they're going to do with that storyline.
So the biggest mystery to me, aside from what Joaquin Phoenix has to do with this, because he was in the original, right?
Yeah.
So is he going to be in this deal?
Well... Spoiler alert.
He was killed in the other one too, right?
Maximus kills Commodus before Maximus himself dies.
But if Maximus is going to be in there, so they say, is Joaquin Phoenix going to be in there? So A. And B, what is going to be the best line from this movie? Because the first movie had my favorite line of all time, which you say to me frequently in the house.
Is that really your all-time favorite line?
No, but for this podcast,
okay. All right. Okay, cool.
Let's just.
I'm blowing up all your best laid plans here.
Yeah, but it's okay. You're calling me on my BS, so that's fine. But so the best line of that movie is,
"Are you not entertained?"
See, now that could. So I dare you, listener, to drop that in any conversation you are in.
One listener.
Well, I said listener.
Yeah, not listeners, because we know we ain't got a lot.
So if you're out there and you're in a meeting and somebody's droning on, just whisper over to your buddy and say, "Are you not entertained?"
My cousin in Seattle, who I think rides public transportation to work, look at the person next to you if you really want to scare them and be like, "Are you not entertained?"
Right, just randomly, without sequitur.
Yeah, totes.
Is that... Did I work?
I'm wondering if Maximus is... They say he's going to be in the sequel, but it's going to be like cheesy use of footage, like outtakes from the first movie, like, which we're going to talk about in a minute. In The Godfather Part 3, John Cazale, is that the guy who played Fredo? He died before that movie got made.
Oh yeah.
But he was still in that movie because they used footage from the first two movies. So I wonder if that's going to be a situation like with Russell Crowe, even though Russell Crowe is still alive and kicking.
I think what they're going to do is it's going to be one of those like fuzzy Russell Crowe in the sky, and then the other characters are going to be down, and he's going to be like, "This is the way it should go." And then, it's going to be ominous, and it's going to be godlike, and it's going to be fuzzy, so you're going to be able to, eliminate the folds of fat that he has right now from his Roger Ailes.
Use the machete instead of the shiv.
Right. Yes. Watch out behind you. Like that kind of thing. That'll be where Russell Crowe fits in. I don't think it's going to be like him walking around in the ring with everybody and
in the toga or whatever.
In the toga. Yeah. What would be a three-ga or a four-ga.
That would be like Belushi in Animal House, like
pouring mustard down the front of his toga.
Toga. We gotta watch Animal House now again.
Gladiator 2 goes in a different direction. Gladiator 2, summer vacation, or something like that.
Gladiator 2, like European Gigolo. Like, I don't know.
We have to watch Animal House, definitely.
Yeah, we totally do. I love that movie.
Okay. So what other sequels do we think maybe should not have been made? Because I'm wondering if this actually is a movie that should be made.
Well, I just mentioned it moments ago, but The Godfather Part 3.
Yeah, you didn't like that?
I've seen it twice, and that's all I need to see.
And it's like 7 hours long, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really long, and we've reviewed The Godfather Part 3 on a podcast previously.
I remember that. I played that one over and over, too.
But it's, by the time they got to that one, like Diane Keaton and Al Pacino like had their shtick down, so you could just see them being themselves and like all shticky instead of being the characters, and the plot was convoluted, and it wasn't good. Like the first two movies are just like masterful pieces of filmmaking, and then you get that one, and
then you get like Grease 2.
Exactly, which another one that shouldn't have been made.
Or Airplane 2.
Airplane 2. You love Airplane, so the fact
I love
that
Airplane.
Airplane 2 is so bad is probably like...
Well, no, it's the same as Airplane. Like, that's the thing with sequels, is that Lethal Weapon is the same movie over and over again.
Lethal Weapon 2, though, was actually good.
Lethal Weapon, the first one, I'm not going to say Lethal Weapon 1 because they didn't call it that when they made it. Lethal Weapon was a really good movie when it came out at the time. So there's at this time when all the cops were good guys and all the bad guys were bad guys, and it was clear the delineation between the two of them. And then there was this Mel Gibson, who was really good in the first one, playing this tortured cop who missed his ex-wife and had a gun in his mouth in one of the early scenes, and he was overacting maybe, but he was all cryy and everything like that and weepy, and he was going to shoot himself, and then he didn't, and then he looks at his wife. Like, there was some really interesting moments in that movie. And then the rest of the series, as far as I'm concerned, is just, like, oh, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
They F you at the drive-thru.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's true.
Joe Pesci Joe Pesci is the most annoying character in the history of movie cinematography and all that sort of stuff. Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's like, I would like to step on him and get out of there. But anyway.
So, complete non sequitur. Mel Gibson, there's somebody we could do a podcast on, his career.
Right. And what a varied career he has had.
Yeah. He's now just basically in revenge porn territory.
So he, yes, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll do this off camera.
Right. the director is just waving at us now. He's just like, he's doing the wrap-up sign already.
So we consulted the interwebs for a list of sequels that should not have been made, and we are not going to read you that list, obviously, but just to get ideas. And Sex and the City 2 is universally called out on these lists. I'm going to go out on a limb and say both Sex and the City movies should not have been made.
Well, you would say
Sex and the City 2 was pretty atrocious, but I didn't even like Sex and the City 1.
I didn't like Sex and the City, the series, so you're not getting... I'm not in the theater. I'm not that demographic.
Right, so that's high up there on my list for...
What about Dumb and Dumber 2?
Dumb and Dumber 1 shouldn't have even been made. Like, that was a dumb movie. It's got dumb right in the title.
So the toilet scene, you weren't a big fan of that, which is iconic?
Thankfully, I don't really remember it. I remember the toilet scene in American Pie, but I don't remember...
American Pie 2, another sequel. Did it need to be made? Probably not.
Warm blueberry pie this time instead of apple pie, which...
For those of you who've seen the movie, will understand that. For those of you who haven't, tough luck because we're not explaining it.
They could probably figure it out. It's not an Einstein level joke there.
No, we're many layers here on Coco and Dalts. Yeah, people are like looking through their thesaurus and then they're making notes when they're listening to the podcast. It's like, I got to check on that later. What did that really mean?
Warm apple pie.
What's the symbolism of that? Comment. Dalts he's really clever with those things. I know he puts a lot of thought into it. Son of Mask, that would be a good one.
Yeah. I never saw the original Mask.
Mask was really good with Jim Carrey in his early rubber-faced days. He didn't have to do a lot of prosthetics with that movie.
Yeah. Jaws, The Revenge.
Jaws, The Revenge.
The original Jaws, one of my 2 all-time favorite movies. And then Jaws 2 was still okay. And then after that, it just went downhill.
Well, Jaws 3 was Jaws 3D.
That's right.
That's where it jumped the shark.
Oh, you can't see people, but we just fist bumped.
Oh, yeah, and I didn't have that in my notes. That was just off the top of my curly head. So Blade Runner 2049, I have to mention that
to bring it back to Ridley Scott.
Bring it back to Ridley Scott because we're all about bringing it back. Was a fantastic movie, wonderfully directed, wonderfully filmed, wonderfully acted. Wonderfully acted, and did not need to be made. There was just no. It was just because people were like, you know what? It's kind of grainy, that 1982 version. So we need to blow it up on the big screen and make it clear and make the sound, make everybody's ears bleed and stuff like that because we're better these days.
And we got no other ideas. We're out.
And we got no other ideas.
So we're just going to throw a pile of money at people to continue this franchise that's beloved.
Yes. And I don't think it alienated people, but it was, again, another 7-hour movie that was a little bit on the fat side.
Which it should tell our listener how little Dalts liked this movie compared to the original, that I was unable to go see it in the theater with him, and he has not nagged me to sit down and watch it with him on Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever it's on.
It was on HBO, and then we have since lost our HBO free account.
Yeah, so that should tell you. Like, he likes the original Blade Runner.
I didn't want to subject you.
I mean, I'd watch it. I wouldn't not watch it, but it's not.
I thought you watched it. Didn't you watch it with me?
No, I didn't.
And fell asleep halfway through? Or maybe that was Coco, the dog.
That might have been Coco the dog. Yeah. I named my dog after myself.
Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yeah, that was trash.
So the Indiana Jones, are they making another one? Like, I heard tell that Indiana Jones
the last
coming
thing
back.
I saw was a report from a couple of years ago that said they want to reboot it and they want Chris Pratt to be Indiana Jones.
Oh,
and
really?
I will just burn the house down if that casting happens, because I do not like Chris Pratt.
Why? What did he ever do to you?
He's like a smarmy douche.
Oh, come on.
Like,
how do you know?
I don't like Star-Lord. Like, Star-Lord is a selfish brat. Like, he just...
But it's his character you don't like. It's not necessarily him.
But he plays the same character all the freaking time.
Well, so does everybody else. So.
Well, but he's just insufferable.
Yeah.
And he doesn't treat his animals well. So,
well, see, now that's a big thing.
Yeah. Like, he and Anna Faris adopted, like, a dog. And, like, 5 years later, the dog was found as a stray and taken to a shelter. And it was scanned for a chip. And it turns out they adopted it, and God knows what happened to it. And it was, like, emaciated, and God knows how long they hadn't had it anymore.
What's your source on this?
Like, I'll find it. I'm gonna find my flip phone right now, and I'm gonna find it. So you keep talking.
So another one that I think probably should not have been made, and maybe George Clooney would agree with this, is the Batman and Robin sequel.
I managed to not watch that.
This is the infamous bat suit with the nipples. George Clooney, I like George Clooney. I know you're not a huge fan, but I like him pretty good. And he didn't need to make that movie. He didn't need to make that sequel. I mean, the whole it's a different story when you're talking about a series like that of sequels where you sort of expect there to be another one. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a different animal. Whereas you're talking with Gladiator, that was not set up to be.
Everybody dies in the end,
right? And it's a logical conclusion. Like the same thing, I go back to Blade Runner. It's a logical conclusion to that piece of art. It's all encapsulated. We feel good about the way that ended. Why do you got to bring the characters back?
Right.
And then open them up to different things, and then next thing you know, you're like they're doing, like, here's another example of a sequel that I don't think should be made, or a spin-off. Mm-hmm. John Turturro's character from The Big Lebowski. is coming back.
Oh, yeah.
John Turturro's character in The Big Lebowski, the purple bowler guy who was great. He was fantastic in that, but he was only in the movie like maybe 10 minutes tops, 15 minutes of total running time. And now he's going to have a whole movie around him. And I just don't think that's not... Sidekicks and complementary characters are best left without having a whole show. Like we used to see in TV in the olden days when... Like
Rhoda gets her own show.
Or Radar gets his own show from MASH. And then I'm dating myself, but I think people understand where I'm going with that. By the way, that was broadcast television, which you could not record. You had to watch it when it came on at that time.
What?
And then if you missed it, you couldn't rewind it in any way, shape, or form. You just missed it.
So if you really had to pee, you were SOL.
Yeah. Or POL, as the case may be.
Yeah. The Big Lebowski has one of my all-time favorite movie lines.
Which is?
This isn't NAMM. This is bowling. There are rules. I think you've heard me say that even more than, are you not entertained? I drop that one quite a bit.
Well, you say, are you not entertained, like after you cook dinner, and then after you take Coco the dog for a walk and come back, and I've been watching out the door or something like that, you go, are you not entertained? And then I have to say, yes, I am. I am always entertained. Well, you have to
give the thumbs up or the thumbs down to be truly emperor-like.
Well, I'm not going to give you the thumbs down. I mean, you're just going to turn around and get in your car and drive away, and then I'll be sad. Because you're just waiting for that one moment, I know. Just that one fracture. And then you're gone.
Yeah. Coco's always got one foot out the door. So
right, exactly. Just looking for that other push, for the other foot.
Well, you don't really think that, do you?
Well, maybe we should talk about this off the air.
Okay. Add it to our list. Mel Gibson.
And the future of our relationship.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Yeah.
This is how much we care about the podcast.
Right, exactly.
So sequels in general. What do you think of sequels in general, Coco?
I think if done well, I don't mind them.
So you liked the Godfather 2 sequel.
I do, yes.
You liked Jaws 2, Lethal Weapon 2.
I liked Captain America Civil War. I did not especially love Captain America the Winter Soldier.
See, now I'm wondering...
Do superhero movies...
Do those even count as sequels? Like, maybe they do. I don't know. I think this is a discussion we should have because we all knew that there was going to be a big Avengers climax to the series with another movie. So to me, a sequel is like the true definition of a sequel is we make a movie, take a chance on it. I don't know if it's going to be a big deal. Oh, it's a big deal. Let's make another one. Rather than we're making a movie and it's going to be a big deal. Let's plan on making another one. Like when you're filming multiple movies at the same time, like they did with Avengers.
Yeah.
To me, that doesn't count as a sequel.
Yeah. Well, what about the Lord of the Rings movies?
Right. So you have a logical progression there because you've got source material that's established, right?
Yeah.
And same with the other guy who's doing the HBO kind of thing where it's
you're making pointy
the George
fingers.
M.M. Martin, is it?
Oh, Game of Thrones.
Yeah, Game of Thrones. Like we knew that we were going to get series after series, even though he was dropping the ball on writing things. We knew we were going to get more and more and more out of that, right? So it's not like you're taking a chance like, oh, I'm never going to see these characters again. You are. It's just what it looks like. So to me, that doesn't really count as a sequel. It counts as sort of like...
Okay, a progression of
a serial or something like that.
What about you? Are you anti-sequels?
I'm anti-sequel.
Oh, okay.
Because with all the creative minds in Hollywood...
Right.
They got to come up with some new ideas. I mean, why are we going back to that well again? Well, to me, it contravenes... It's totally against creativity. If you're just borrowing something, repackaging it, it's not art. It's a product. You're stamping out assembly line things, which are not, that's not art to me. Art is sitting down at a blank canvas, a blank piece of paper, fresh canister of film or whatever they use these days, and going, and just go. That to me is art, rather than something that's fabricated and artificial.
Dalts is getting all high-minded.
I've had 17 beers today.
That was yesterday.
Oh, that was... Busted me on the podcast. It was yesterday.
Item number 3 on our off-podcast talking list.
Don't refer to my booze consumption on the air.
Booze consumption.
So, how do you want to end this?
Wasn't there something we were going to talk about after sequels that shouldn't get made?
Oh, so do we want to go to back to the 2000 Academy Award nominees for Best Picture and see if those would be good sequels?
Oh, yeah. That's what we were going to do.
Right?
Yeah.
So are we talking Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon 2?
Well, I've never seen that, so I can't speak to that.
But every martial arts movie, even though this was a special one and rose to the occasion, it's still a martial arts movie.
Didn't they make a sequel to that? Or did Ang Lee just make another one that was very similar to that? And
I don't know.
Okay.
I should probably know that.
No, who cares? So what about Erin Brockovich?
Erin Brockovich 2. To me, no, because it's a story with a beginning, middle, and end.
Right.
Unless we like Erin Brockovich, the WWE years or something like that.
She, apparently, the real-life Erin Brockovich is something of like a social justice warrior now. So I guess we could pick up with her 20 years later and what she
So there you go.
fighting for now.
Erin Brockovich, social justice warrior.
Yeah.
Okay, so that we could do that.
We could do that.
Julia
but we
Roberts could be
don't- No, we don't need to.
in like a cod piece or whatever it is that Wonder Woman has. That's probably not a cod piece.
The less Julia Roberts in the world, the better. So I'm gonna take a hard pass on
Kind
that.
of looks like a duck. Traffic 2, Traffic 3. We could probably make Traffic movies from now until the end of time, right? Because it's about the drug war.
Yeah. Until all drugs are legalized.
So what would be Traffic 2? Would be OxyContin,
Yeah, the opioid epidemic.
right? So
Yeah.
Traffic : the opioid epidemic.
Yeah.
I like this. Way. And chocolat. So vanilla could be the next one. It could be a series of flavors.
Yeah, I don't really remember a whole lot about that movie, but
It was just about a Rudolph Valentino type guy played by Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp.
And how he was amazing and women were swooned by his something to do with chocolate. His ability to make chocolate or eat it or
I don't remember.
put it on a popsicle stick. I don't know. So it could be like, and you know what? I think there's a logical tie in here with Baskin Robbins. So it could be
There you go.
all those flavors. What do they got now? I mean, they say 52, don't they? But
I don't know.
how many flavors do they have?
I don't know.
Baskin Robbins.
Where is there a Baskin Robbins anywhere near here? I have no idea.
Yeah, I think there is.
Oh.
Yeah, I think there is.
Okay.
I'm not going to say where because
Okay.
that would give away our location. We had drones flying over the house the other day.
We did. And since we do frequently talk about how we double dip on movies, we don't want to give
Right.
away our location and have the 16-year-olds running the concession stand who don't care to have to actually do their jobs and kick us out.
Because we know that multimedia corporations, conglomerates from around the world will squeeze us for that extra $2 or $3.
Well, I mean, if we're not going to a matinee, it's going to be an extra 15.
Right. You're right. Well, I was trying to underplay it
Oh, okay.
because I didn't want to get us busted.
Oh, okay. Good thinking. So on that note...
On that note, sequels. So thumbs up or thumbs down on the sequels?
I'm going to give it like a thumb in the middle.
Okay.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm not...
All right. I'm going to give it a thumbs down because I'm just fed up with the sequels.
Are you gonna...
I'm flipping the table.
You're flipping the table? Uh-oh.
I'm going to write down number 4 after the show is over. Flip the table because I don't want to upset the equipment here.
Yeah, the sound engineer is starting to look nervous.
Right. Exactly. So thanks for joining us for this inspiring and sweaty performance in the middle of the summer.
Our midsummer episode, and then you probably won't hear from us again until September.
Well, here's hoping you do because we enjoy it.
Yes.
We hope you enjoy it, listener.
Mm-hmm.
And for another week, another episode, and if you get a chance to check out the video, have a look at Coco's hair because it's spectacular. She looks ravishing.
Oh my God.
So for another episode, I'm not Coco.
And I'm not Dalts.